Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're tackling a massive question, one that could literally change the global power balance. Is King Dollar's reign finally coming to an end? You know, for decades, the US dollar has been the undisputed champion of global finance. But you're starting to see some cracks appear in that throne. I mean, you've probably seen headlines just like this one from the IMF, right? They pop up every now and then. And they're part of this growing chorus. You've got economists, world leaders, all asking the same thing. Is the dollar's dominance on shaky ground? And look, they're pointing to a real trend here. It's slow, for sure, but it's undeniable. The world is gradually starting to move its savings into other currencies. So, the big question is this the end? Is the dollar's time as king really up? Well, to get a real answer, we can't just look at today's headlines. Nope, we gotta jump in the time machine and figure out how the dollar became king in the first place. All right, section 1. Let's dig into how this all happened. I mean, the dollar's rise wasn't an accident. It wasn't inevitable. It was literally forged in the fires of war and built on a solid foundation of gold. This is the story of how one country's money became the world's money. Okay, so first things first, what even is a reserve currency? Well, think about it like this. If you were planning a huge trip overseas, you'd get some local cash, right? But you'd probably also stash some US dollars in your bag just in case, as a reliable backup. A reserve currency is basically that, but for entire countries. It's the big, trusted currency that central banks around the world keep in their vaults to pay for stuff they import, to keep their own currency stable, and basically to weather any financial storms. So how did the dollar get this top job? Well, you have to go back to the end of World War II. The world was a mess, and it desperately needed some kind of stability, and they found it in the US dollar. At this huge conference in Bretton Woods in 1944, a bunch of countries got together and agreed to link their currencies to the dollar. And the dollar itself, it was convertible to gold. This created a whole new economic order. But then, fast forward in 1971. The US was running low on its gold reserves, so President Nixon drops a bombshell. The dollar is no longer backed by gold. Whoa, this was called the Nixon shock, and it led to the floating exchange rate system we still have today. And here's the crazy part. Even without that golden anchor, the dollar stayed right at the center of everything. Now we're on to section 2. So, being the world's favorite currency isn't just about bragging rights. Oh no. It comes with some absolutely mind-blowing perks. A French finance minister once famously called it an exorbitant privilege. So let's unpack that. What exactly are these privileges, and how do they really shape America's power on the world stage? Yeah, this phrase, exorbitant privilege, it actually comes from way back in the 1960s. But wow, is it more relevant than ever today? It just perfectly captures this almost unfair advantage the US gets just because everyone needs and wants its currency. So let's break down what this actually looks like in the real world. Okay, so it really boils down to two huge advantages. First, because there's such high demand for dollars all over the world, the US government can borrow money way more cheaply than pretty much anyone else. And second, and this one is a huge deal, the dollar's top dog status gives the US the power to use financial sanctions. We're talking about the ability to completely cut off its enemies from the global financial system. And we saw a massive example of this recently. The invasion of Ukraine was a real turning point. The US and its allies managed to freeze something like $300 billion of Russia's central bank assets. Just gone, frozen. That move sent absolute shockwaves around the world. It was this incredibly stark reminder of how the dollar can be used as a weapon. And let's be honest, it's a big reason why some countries are now saying, maybe we should look for another option. Okay, section 3. But wearing the crown isn't all fun and games. It's a heavy burden. While those privileges are, enormous, they absolutely come with a cost. And not just for the rest of the world, but for the US economy too. And this is where things get tricky. It's kind of the central paradox of having a strong dollar. For you, as an American consumer, it's great. It means imports are cheaper, that new smartphone, that bottle of French wine, it all costs less. Your money goes farther. But if you're an American company trying to sell things to other countries, it's a totally different story. a strong dollar makes your goods more expensive for everyone else, and that can really hurt business. We're talking about lost sales and sometimes even lost jobs. So for all the talk about the dollar's decline, you just have to look at the numbers. The data from the IMF is crystal clear. The dollar is still the king, no question. It makes up almost 58% of all global reserves. The next one down, the euro, is way behind at just under 20%. I mean, that gap is it's enormous. It really puts things in perspective. So, who's actually holding all these dollars? Well, it's a really interesting list. Right at the top, you've got China, which creates this incredibly complex, sometimes tense financial relationship with the US. But you've also got key American allies like Japan and Switzerland holding massive amounts of dollars. And what this does is it creates a global financial system where pretty much everyone, friend or foe, has a vested interest in the dollar staying stable. For better or for worse, everyone's in the same boat. All right, on to section 4. So, given all these risks and rewards we've talked about, it is absolutely no surprise that other countries are looking at that throne and thinking, hey, maybe it's our turn. But who are the real contenders here? And more importantly, do any of them actually have what it takes to challenge King Dollar? When you look at the challengers, two names always come up, the euro and China's renminbi. But, and this is a big but, both of them have some serious roadblocks. Let's take the euro. The big issue there is that there's no single, unified European government bond. Nothing like a US Treasury bill that everyone trusts. You've got German bonds, French bonds, Italian bonds, it's all fragmented, which makes central banks a little nervous. And then you have the renminbi. Now, China's economy is obviously a giant, but its government keeps a really tight grip on the currency. That lack of freedom, that lack of transparency, it makes other countries pretty hesitant to, put all their eggs in that one basket. And this is really the heart of the matter, something experts like Zhang Wei and Zoe Liu point out all the time. For the renminbi to ever become a true global reserve currency, China would have to do something it's been unwilling to do, give up a huge amount of control. They'd have to let their currency trade freely, open up their financial system, and build an infrastructure that the world sees as transparent and trustworthy. And for now, at least, that just seems like a step Beijing is not ready to take. So here we are in our final section. If there's no obvious replacement for the dollar waiting in the wings, what happens next? Are we just stuck with the way things are? Or are we drifting toward a future that's a lot more fragmented, maybe even a lot more chaotic? One thing to remember is that the dollar's value isn't static. It's not set in stone. It swings up and down, sometimes pretty wildly. We often track this with something called the DXY index. Just look at these two moments in time. Back in 1985, the dollar was at its peak, so strong that it only took about $1.09 to buy one British pound. Now, jump to 2008, during the financial crisis. The dollar hit a low, and it took over $2 to buy that same pound. That's a huge swing, and those kinds of fluctuations have massive consequences for global trade, which is exactly why some countries are desperately looking for a bit more stability. So, after all that, what's the verdict? Where do we land? Well, the dollar's reign is definitely not over. It is still, without a doubt, the king of the hill, and there's no single currency ready to take the crown anytime soon. But, and it's an important but, the world is changing. The fact that the US uses the dollar as a powerful tool in foreign policy is definitely pushing other countries to look around for alternatives. So what we're seeing isn't some sudden revolution. It's more of a slow, steady evolution toward a world that might have a few different competing currency zones. And that really brings us to the final, biggest question of all. A world that's less reliant on the dollar, would that be a more balanced world? Or would it be a much more chaotic, unpredictable one? That is the tightrope that the entire global economy is walking right now. And the answer to that question isn't just about the future of money. It's about the future of global power itself. Thanks so much for joining us on The Explainer.